Wondering what hurts and what helps your credit score? John Olsheimer is the man to ask. He's the president of consumer education for Credit.com. And before that, he worked at Equifax and at Fair Isaac, the company that invented the FICO score, which means he's truly a credit insider. John, great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's start off with what's up with FICO. Why are they like guarding the secrets of the palace in there? Why is everything so secret?
Well, it's their core product. FICO depends on banks and insurance companies buying their FICO credit scores to maintain and retain and stay in business. They have done a very good job over the past decade opening the curtain a bit, so to speak, and letting consumers know at least here are the 5 main areas that affect your score. And here is roughly the percentage of points that each of these areas are going to cost you if you do things like miss payments, max out credit cards, apply for credit excessively, and in some cases avoid credit altogether.
Well, let's go into some of these myths and misconceptions about credit scores, because a lot of people give a lot of advice. And I want to start with one thing that many people say, that paying your bills on time, that's the most important thing. What do you say to that?
That is clearly a good start, but that is not the key to the kingdom. 35% of the points in your FICO score are directly tied to whether or not you're making your payments, which means that 65% of the points have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you make payments or you miss them. So while it's a fantastic start, you cannot hang your hat on the fact that you're just making your payments on time and assume that you've got fantastic credit.
A lot of young people I talk to, they say, I hear that carrying a balance on your credit card is good for your credit score. What's the answer to that one?
I'm quite certain that the credit card industry introduced that myth. Look, there's nothing wrong with carrying a balance on your credit card. What's problematic is when you start carrying a very large balance on your credit cards. And the issue here is utilization. It's the percentage of your credit limit that you're using up in the form of a balance. So if you have a $1,000 credit limit and a $1,000 balance, you're completely maxed out on that card. That is not good for your credit score. If you have a relatively low balance, 10%, 15% of the credit limit, that's really where you want to be, anywhere in that 7 to 15% range.
What's this I hear about employers being able to check your credit score? That does not seem legal to me.
We'll consider that the myth of the decade, actually. Employers do have the ability to look at your credit reports, but they do not have the ability to look at your credit scores. Credit reports and credit scores are actually 2 completely separate things. A lot of people refer to them as if they're one item, credit report with a score, and in fact they're actually 2. So while employers can in most cases and in most states look at the report for pre-employment and continued employment screening, they do not have access to your credit score. You have never ever heard of a verifiable example of somebody not getting a job because they had a low credit score.
So who can get your FICO score?
Well, any lender, any insurance company, any landlord, and any utility provider.
Okay.
As long as they have what's referred to as permissible purpose to access your credit report, then they also have the ability to buy a score from one of the 3 credit reporting agencies about you, about me, about anybody, and they use that score to determine the level of credit risk or insurance risk that that particular applicant has, and then they'll use that, of course, to either grant or deny or set the terms.
You know, the housing market has been a complete mess. It's really screwed up a lot of people's credit. And we found out recently, like, foreclosures on the rise. Now, what's the difference in the impact on your credit score between a short sale and a foreclosure?
Very good question. That's actually, unfortunately, the root of a lot of myths. The assumption is that a short sale is actually better for your credit score than a foreclosure. In reality, it's not. It's the same. A short sale is reported to the credit reporting agencies as either a charge-off or a settlement. And in both cases, that's accurate reporting because the lender has accepted less than the full principal amount and considers the loan to be now paid in full. That's a settlement. What do they do with the deficiency balance? They charge it off. That's a charge-off. So while the disposition of the mortgage is actually better for the neighborhood, for example, because you're keeping the house clean, you're mowing the lawn, you're not ripping copper piping out of the wall, from a credit scoring perspective, there really is no difference between a short sale and a foreclosure.
Last question. is it true that my credit score, anyone's credit score, will be wrecked for basically 7 years if you have a short sale, a foreclosure, or a bankruptcy? Or do those, basically we know that foreclosure and short sale are the same. So are you done for 7 years on that?
Well, I don't want to say that you're done. It will be under credit reports for 7 years, and in a bankruptcy, in the example you gave, that's 10 years. You're not done for the entire period of time. Your credit score will improve as that item gets older. What you'd like to do is you want to put time between yourself and the incident, and you absolutely can rebuild your score. And as the item gets older, it's going to lose the negative impact on your FICO score. And actually, you can have very, very solid credit scores within 3 or 4 years, assuming you don't do the same things again.
Oh, that's ending on a nice foot there. That gives me some hope for folks who really are in trouble.
Well,
so, John,
that's the goal.
There you are. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And thanks for watching.